smaller nations, the fighter that wins on paper isn't always the fighter that wins in real life.
Heavy fighters deliver powerful performance, but they also demand heavy logistics, heavy fuel, and heavy maintenance.
Smaller air forces live by arithmetic. How many jets can be flown, serviced, fueled, and crewed without breaking the system?
The Gripen is built around a different philosophy: maximum readiness, with minimum burden. One of the biggest reasons is simple: operating cost. Light fighters can deliver more patrols for the same budget.
Fuel is not just a supply, it's strategy. Smaller nations prioritize aircraft that sip rather than gulp.
The smaller the maintenance footprint, the faster the turnaround, and the higher the availability rate. Heavy fighters can require larger crews and deeper specialization. Smaller air forces value efficiency and manpower. Many smaller nations plan for survival under pressure, meaning they want jets that can operate from more than one pristine runway.
Gripen's concept emphasizes rapid turnaround, even with lean support, keeping jets available when bases are constrained.
Harsh weather, short runways, and limited infrastructure change what best really means.
The purchase price is only the beginning. Smaller nations judge fighters by life cycle cost and by risk. Spare parts pipelines decide readiness. A manageable supply chain can matter more than peak performance. Training demands are constant. If a fighter is too costly to fly often, skills erode and deterrence weakens.
Smaller nations often prioritize sortie rate. How many missions per day, for how long, with what reliability? Gripen's upgrade path is a major attraction, modular improvements that keep a fleet relevant without rebuilding it from scratch.
Open, flexible systems can reduce dependency and speed modernization, an advantage for nations balancing politics and budgets.
For some countries, interoperability matters. A fighter that plugs into allied training and logistics can multiply real-world capability.
In crisis planning, runway repair and alternative strips become essential, favoring aircraft designed to be flexible. Many nations fly frequent air policing missions. The best jet is the one that can keep showing up, day after day.
Modern combat is increasingly about sensors and data. Smaller nations want credible awareness without the overhead of a heavyweight platform.
Defensive systems and electronic warfare can be decisive, especially when a country must protect limited assets.
Geography shapes doctrine. Some nations need fighters optimized for quick reactions across compact airspace. Survivability includes basing. How many places can you hide, protect, and launch from with limited resources? For many smaller nations, the target is enough capability, always available, not maximum capability, rarely available.
A modern interface and smart automation can reduce workload, important for smaller forces with fewer specialized support crews.
Faster service times translate into more aircraft in the air and fewer parked on the ground.
Buying a heavy fighter can force expensive base upgrades. A lighter jet often fits existing infrastructure far better. Maintenance complexity scales quickly with size and engine count, especially when spare engines are limited.
Sustainment is often the true cost driver. Nations favor platforms that keep long-term contracts predictable. Software-defined capability matters. Smaller fleets want upgrades that are straightforward and scalable across limited aircraft numbers. Smaller nations often need one fighter to do many jobs, without the luxury of specialized squadrons.
Training pipelines are fragile. Aircraft that are easier to sustain keep pilot hours consistent and retention higher.
Smaller fleets can't afford surprises. Clear lifecycle management and predictable wear patterns become strategic advantages.
Nations tailor choices to their threat environment, often prioritizing rapid intercept and persistent coverage.
Deterrence is not just capability, it's visible readiness, repeated and reliable.
Smaller buyers often depend on export support networks. They favor programs designed to be supported across borders.
Simplicity isn't weakness.
In a constrained system, simplicity can be resilience.
A heavier fighter can offer range and payload, but if it reduces fleet size and flying hours, the trade can cut deep.
For many smaller nations, the real choice is this. Do you want a few extraordinary jets, or a fleet you can keep flying, training, and deploying without running out of money or people?
If a heavy fighter forces fleet size down, coverage windows shrink, and response times stretch.
Fighters are part of a wider system. Radars, command centers, and data links. Smaller nations optimize the whole network, not just the jet. Quick reaction alert depends on routine reliability. Aircraft that starts, launches, and returns with fewer complications.
Minutes on the ground can decide hours in the air. Lean turnaround is a force multiplier for smaller fleets. Dispersal isn't theoretical. It's a survival plan, one that rewards aircraft designed for flexible operations. Procurement is political. Some nations want choices that preserve flexibility in diplomacy and long-term support.
Nations value compatibility, integrating proven weapons and sensors without endless custom engineering.
The ability to modernize mid-life without replacing the whole fleet keeps smaller nations from falling behind.
A fighter that's consistently available builds confidence inside the Air Force and across the nation it protects.
Smaller nations often rely on blended support models. Aircraft designed for maintainability fit that reality better.
Flying hours are the currency of proficiency. If you can afford more hours, you buy sharper skills.
Lighter support requirements can make deployments faster, especially for coalition exercises and regional contingencies.
Performance isn't only about top speed. It's about what you can do from the runways you actually have.
Coverage is measured in time on station, response windows, and reliable launches, not just raw payload capacity.
Spectacle can influence headlines, but defense planners live in maintenance logs and readiness reports.
Gripen fits a total defense approach, where the aircraft is one node in a resilient national network.
Training maintainers is just as important as training pilots. Aircraft designed for straightforward upkeep reduce bottlenecks. When fleets are small, every aircraft matters. Resilience means reducing single points of failure. The jets that perform best in peacetime readiness often perform best in crisis, because the system behind them stays healthy. Lower infrastructure demands can free budgets for radars, training, and munitions. The parts that complete the air. Efficiency buys time, more training cycles, more patrol days, and more readiness without financial shock. Heavy fighters shine in some doctrines, but territorial defense often favors sustainability, responsiveness. For maritime nations, persistent watch matters. The platform that can fly often delivers the most real coverage. In a disrupted world, smaller nations prefer fighters that can be sustained even when supply lines strain. Simulators help, but they can't replace real hours. Affordability keeps pilots in the air, not just in the classroom. Smaller fleets fear downtime. Incremental upgrades that don't pause the whole force are a major advantage. Right-sized capability can be more credible than oversized ambition, especially when it stays funded year after year. Planners measure what matters: availability, turnaround, cost, and reliability under JAS. Heavy fighters carry more, but they also carry complexity. For some nations, that cost. Gripen's appeal is often operational, lean routines that produce consistent air power without exhausting the system.
Dispersed operations don't stop at sunset. Flexible basing means flexibility at any hour.
Smaller nations need systems that fit human scale, because people are the true limit.
Fighter choice competes with every other priority. A lighter jet can keep the whole defense posture healthier.
Low-profile logistics support helps sustain operations without broadcasting dependency on massive infrastructure.
The future rewards networks and readiness. For many missions, being present and connected matters as much as being heavy.
A sustainable fleet is a strategic asset. More jets flying, more pilots current, more crews practiced.
Heavy fighters have their place, especially for nations built for long-range power projection and deep sustainment.
But context decides. For many smaller nations, readiness and resilience outweigh maximum payload and range.
One path maximizes peak capability. The other maximizes daily reality.
The sound that matters most isn't the loudest engine. It's the engine that starts again and again when the call comes.
Sustained readiness is built in the quiet hours, when budgets, people, and aircraft all have to last.
For smaller nations, a fighter's greatest strength is simple. It's there when needed.
Resilience is the ability to keep operating when conditions are imperfect, something smaller nations design for from day one.
The practical edge is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Simpler support, lower costs, and more real readiness. In daily air defense, consistency beats spectacle. Presence beats promises.
That's why smaller nations so often favor the Gripen, not because they don't want power, but because they need air power that stays affordable, flexible, and ready to fly when it matters most.